Hey guys, it's Gabe.
And David.
And today we have our top 10 movies of 2016. This series saw a lot of films together, mainly together.
Yeah.
And we talked about each movie we saw individually, both the ones that made it onto our list and the ones that did not make it onto our list. So starting off, we talk about the movies that are not on either of our lists. These are the films that I saw some that he didn't see, and he saw some that I didn't see. But yeah, let's just talk about those first.
Yeah, so the first one on our didn't make it list is Hail Caesar.
So this film, at least in my opinion, was pretty it was an average film. It wasn't too great, but it wasn't anything bad either. I mean, it gave me a couple of chuckles because I was, I could understand some of the jokes because it was about a guy trying to make a film, basically, when you just think about it and just, take that plot apart. So some jokes were really just they hit me. So
yeah, my problem with it was that the plot was kind of all over the place. It didn't really have a typical story where it's just, the plot develops over time. It was kind of just one little short with another little short mashed together.
Yeah, I mean, it did kind of work for comedic effects sometimes, but I mean, yeah, it was kind of messy and kind of a mess at times. But yeah, like I said, there were some scenes that were pretty funny, like one where a particularly bad actor is messing up the director, has to talk with him and try to get him to do his best, even though he's pretty bad. So
would that it were so simple.
Cut. 27 Apple, take two.
So the next thing on our list is, actually, he saw it.
I saw it and he didn't. It's The Jungle Book. I have nothing really to say about this film. It was pretty bad in my opinion. I don't know, a lot of people gave it some pretty good reviews, but all I know is that it's meant to be a retelling of this classic Disney story. I never actually saw the original, so I wouldn't know if it's very faithful in its adaptation, but all I know is that this film was to CGI. There's only one actual actor in it, and the rest are just voice actors, and the entire background wasn't even in a forest or a jungle. It was just all just green screen, and it was way too obvious for me. It was definitely aimed for children, so the plot was very childish for my taste. So as somebody a bit older, I don't think you'd enjoy this film as much unless you've grown up with the original Jungle Book. So my thoughts on this.
I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say anything.
Yeah.
All right, so next on the list is
The Darkness, another film that I only saw that he didn't. This is a horror movie apparently, but it's not very scary at all to me. It's the main problem I had with this film was the ending. Everything else was just mediocre or slightly below average. It wasn't anything that special about this film, but in fact, I think this film was below average for a horror film and a film in general, but the ending was what really got me. I hated this ending. It was so cheesy, and I didn't understand what was going on. I couldn't really tell. It was kind of like something I could make in Adobe After Effects in 2 seconds. It was way too corny, and just you could obviously tell it was made in 5 minutes in some guy's basement on his MacBook 2, and it was just pretty bad in quality.
Yeah, so moving forward, X-Men Apocalypse. Now, the main reason that this movie didn't make my list is because it just didn't really connect with me in any real way. I liked it and I enjoyed it, but it just didn't really have that deep plot that not deep plot, but I just didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, we both enjoyed this film. It was way better than a lot of superhero films we've seen. But we're not really big fans of X-Men, really.
I don't follow that story too deeply, so
it's kind of hard to follow it anyways because it's just a mess at this point, just the timelines and everything. But overall, as a superhero film, it was still super enjoyable. The acting and the action was both pretty decent, so it was an enjoyable, fun time, and nothing too special, but it was still a good film.
Central Intelligence. This is a comedy that I really came into having little to no expectations, and it was a pretty good time, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I had a lot of fun watching it, but I thought the Rock was good.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart was pretty good, but I mean, that's about all I can say. I left the theater and I kind of just forgot about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was PG or PG-13, and it just felt like it was holding back because of that not rated R rating. So it was just kind of a restrained comedy, but I still had a fun time with it.
Ooh, the next thing on the list is Nerve. Now, I really liked Nerve, and in fact, it almost made my top 10 list, but it just didn't really stick to me, and that's a common theme with me, is that I like movies that have a deeper meaning, and Nerve kind of didn't really have a deeper meaning. But it was still a fun time. I mean,
it's something that you just see once and just never again watch it.
Yeah, I don't know how good the rewatchability is.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely had a. I'm watching. I knew that it was a pretty stupid plot. Like it had a bunch of plot holes if you think about it too much. So just don't think about it too much. Watch with your friends. It's a pretty enjoyable, fun movie. I like the color grading in this film. It's actually like all neon and colorful and everything. I like that a lot. Colorful. It was like the vibe was energetic. I like that a lot about it. So nothing much to say. Just a fun movie to see once. Just forget about it.
So the next movie on the list is Suicide Squad, and yeah, you were really hyped up for this movie.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I like DC in general. I tend to like most of their films up to this point, but Suicide Squad wasn't anything too special. I thought it was pretty good the first time I saw it, but looking back on it, the tones were all over the place. They had like this like poppy soundtrack, but like really dark vibe.
Yeah, it was weird. It was just I don't think they knew what
bizarre.
I don't think they knew what they were making. So they kind of just it's like they had like 3 directors making
like visions like separate on the set, and like nobody really knew what they wanted specifically from this film, and so like the entire film was like a couple scenes at the beginning introducing the characters, then they just go right into the ending scene. It was like an entire just hour and a half of like there were no acts. It was just like half an act, then just the final act, and it was really weird pacing wise, and the tones were all over the place. It was just kind of a mess.
So next up is Sausage Party. Now this is a comedy that we saw.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was pretty funny. I mean, it was a different type of humor.
Yeah, because it was different. Like,
it was rated R.
The first rated R animated film I think has actually come out that's like this. So.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I mean, I might watch it again, but it's not like.
I wouldn't watch it.
It's not something I'd go shopping for, you know.
I mean, I liked it and it was pretty funny. Like, I thought the ending, specifically like the last half an hour or so, was the funniest. And I also did like some of the darker themes that had actually like when the food was getting like massacred in the house, and that was pretty actually scary sometimes because it was so violent and gruesome. But it also managed to be funny at the same time. So some jokes didn't really land with me because I'm not really a fan of druggy humor, especially when it's like these groceries doing drugs. It wasn't very funny to me, but everything else it managed to be a pretty good time. So this isn't a masterpiece in any way.
Alright, so finally, the last thing is Why Him, another comedy that we saw just recently. Actually,
like last week, our last film of this year.
And I really liked this movie. I came into it, I just wanted a nice laugh, end out the year, and it did that. It gave me a nice laugh and it ended out the year. So
overall, it was just solid comedy, nothing too special. It just the cinematography was generic. Everything was just generic about it, except for the comedy. As long as it makes you laugh, that's really what's important. The comedy to go looking for.
It was an enjoyable time.
Definitely get what you're looking for. Yeah. So, if it's just a comedy you want to see, maybe the girlfriend, family member, friend, it's definitely a delivery. So, moving on to our top 10 lists. I think we're gonna go with him first. We're just gonna make our way like number 10, number 10, and like that. So.
All right. So starting off the list, my number 10 is Revenant. Now, I like this movie because the cinematography was just phenomenal. Everything looked really natural, even if there was a little bit of CGI. It just looked really, really nice. And the plot was a little boring. Like, the story was boring, I'll admit it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't make my list. I thought it was a bit too boring. There was, like, the action was there, but it was, like, sprinkled through, so it wasn't very...
The action felt really genuine and real. I just wish there was a little bit more action,
Yeah, like, I mean, personally, this isn't my list because it was just, the cinematography was really the only thing. It was like, the performances were all good because, Scott DiCaprio, his first Oscar, and it was for a good reason, but, like, everyone did their jobs pretty well, like, the cinematographer, obviously, over that was give him a paycheck right now, but, and, like, the editing, dude, like, could have cut some things out. A couple of tree shots could have been cut out. We had way too many.
You gotta have every tree shot counts.
It was just I really was checking my watch the entire time. So, my number 10 was Arrival, a film with a really deep plot. I loved the plot in this film. It was kind of one of those plots where like you go home and then you really start to realize most of the important stuff. Like you don't notice everything there is to this film in the theater while watching it until you get home. That was a problem a lot of people had with this film. Like there were kids that were in the theater like after that movie ended, just like what just happened,
Yeah,
but
the movie was too quiet. Not enough action, and the soundtrack was like non-existent. It's like they didn't have a music group.
But it did have a pretty nice like vibe. I liked the vibe in this film. The tone was dark and very science fictional, but I did like this because it was, it isn't number one because, it didn't have any action. It was kind of boring at some parts. They could have told a story with, some more action. And I mean, when I say action, I mean like fighting. I don't mean any hardcore, like, shoot the aliens with like tanks and everything. I mean, just like action in general, just like, action on screen. So they didn't really have much of that. So it's number 10 though. But it was overall very well made movie, very well acted, and nice story.
Yeah, so moving on, my number 9 is Deepwater Horizon. Now, I like this movie because cinematography was good. Mark Wahlberg did a great job. I thought that it really tried to bring out the emotional impact of the oil spill, so that, I thought the oil spill was just like literally just an oil spill. But like, now after seeing the movie, I kind of
tips a bucket and then oil spills into the Gulf of Mexico. But it's definitely more than that. This film,
it was emotional.
This film didn't make my list though, mainly because the first half an hour was super boring for me. That was my main gripe with the film. Everything, like after the disaster starts happening, that was all great. It was all kind of emotional, but not very emotional because the way they introduced the characters was super boring. I didn't really care about any of them. They were just walking around the ship, the Deepwater Horizon, just talking, and it was just kind of bland for me. So I wish they would have had the first introduction act be something more than just them talking, because it was very obvious the only purpose of that scene was to just introduce the characters and get you to like them, but it didn't really work for me, so it wasn't on my list. So also keep in mind that we did not see every single film this year.
These are just the ones that we saw.
Yeah, we didn't see some films that got lots of acclaim, like Nocturnal Animals. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen Moonlight. We haven't seen La La Land. So,
Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah, Kubo and the Two Strings. We haven't seen Moana.
I think it's Moana.
Whatever.
But yeah, you're number 8 or number 9?
Nine. Is Hardcore Henry. This film actually wasn't very popular when it came out. I don't believe there was a couple of big reviews, but not everybody really knew about this movie, and it's kind of a shame because it was definitely a theater experience. When I rewatched it a couple days ago, I really got kind of nauseous. I never really get nauseous with first-person films, so this was more of a theater experience because, like, when you see it with a couple of friends, like me and David saw it, it was like the action was like, it made you kind of like cup your mouth and like, whoa, it's kind of the dark humor in a way. It was all bloody and gory, but the soundtrack was
I
all
actually
fun.
have this movie lower on my list because I liked it more, so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like it, it got moved farther back in my list, mainly because it wasn't, the rewatchability isn't really there, because when you rewatch it, you already know everything's going to happen. You have to watch it on a home theater screen instead of like, proper cinema experience. So that's Hardcore Henry, number 9.
So my number 8 is Rogue One, for obvious reasons. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so just the fact that it's a Star Wars movie really grabbed my attention. Fight scenes were pretty good. The cinematography, I like they show the planets and how vast all that stuff is, and it was just interesting. So I mean, I just like the movie, and I feel like I'll watch it again. So it's
this film was not on my list because memorable characters is something this film definitely lacked. While the other films had like all those Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and Han Solo, this film, I tried to name one character from this film except for Darth Vader and
I can't really.
Yeah, can't name any character. There's the blind guy with the stick, but that's all you know. And then like the pilot played by the Nightcrawler guy. You don't know any of their names, and they're not very memorable. The story wasn't anything special. It was just an in-between Star Wars film, and the only really standout part of this film for me was the ending with Darth Vader. Overall, these characters couldn't get engaged in the story or them, so it was not my list. My number 8 was Dr.Strange. Going into this film, I had no expectations because Marvel films usually are all the same, formulaic, and this film was, pretty formulaic for Marvel's strategy, but I mean, it actually did surprise me in a definitely decent way. Like, Doctor Strange had lots of fun with it. The effects were superb, and I just had a really fun time with this film, so it is number 8.
Alright, so my number 7 is 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now, I just saw this movie recently. I didn't see it in theaters with him, but it kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I was watching it on like my laptop, so that's a pretty good sign. And then the mystery between Howard and the aliens, it just really got my attention the whole time. So
this film's later on my list. I'll talk about this later. So. So my number 7 is Don't Breathe. This film I rewatched again, and it wasn't as good the second time, mainly because it's something you see once in theaters, kind of like Hardcore Henry. And horror films in general are like this, but this film in particular, once you see it, you know, all the scares, nothing really special about it the second time you see it. It's still a great film. The cinematography is great, acting's pretty decent, but, you know, when I saw it the second time at home, it did not have the same impact I had watching it through the first time in theaters. So Don't Breathe is still a great horror movie, one of the better ones I've seen in my lifetime, but nothing, you know, spectacular.
Yeah. So my number 6 is actually Don't Breathe as well, and I pretty much agree with him on most of the points that he just made. It was a great theater experience, but I've just rewatched it the other day, and it's just not as... You know exactly what's going to happen, you know,
Yeah.
down to every jump scare. So
And
it's
the
just,
problem is, when you rewatch films like this, you kind of start to, you still already know all the scares and stuff.
so you see all the flaws.
Yeah, you see all the flaws and the plots, and just... Number 6 on my list is Captain America Civil War. So the first time I saw this film, I didn't really like it that much. When I saw it in theaters, it was kind of a letdown. I came in to see Spider-Man, he was only in there for like 5 minutes, and I understand... I understand that he wasn't meant to be in the movie until like the last minute, but I mean, it was kind of a letdown not to see him be in more of the film and play a more vital part. But Civil War, when I rewatched it the second time, it was definitely a better experience because I wasn't as let down. I knew what I was going to get, and I could enjoy it for what it was, just a simple Marvel action film. So I liked it a lot better, and the plot was nice, with Zemo being the villain. They usually don't have really good villains in Marvel films anymore, so good villain, definitely helped with this film, and it was great action and just enjoyable.
So, moving on now, my number 5 is actually Hardcore Henry. Now, when I saw this in theaters, I was actually kind of blown away because they showed so much like violence and it was just such a fast-paced movie. Like, I don't even think I thought about anything for the entire time I was there. I just watched the movie, you know, and that's pretty much all there is to say about it. It was just a video game movie, so...
Yeah, like it wasn't based on the video game.
Or a movie video, I don't know. It's like not based on a video
It's
game.
in the
It was
style
like
of a video game, like
Yeah.
a first-person shooter like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So,
It was like I was watching Call of Duty.
yeah, it was like a gameplay or something with no commentary. So, number 5 on my list is Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. So, a lot of people had huge problems with this film. I understand there were a lot of plot holes, and it did try to set up too much for the DC universe in one film when they should have just focused on this film they were making instead of the next upcoming film on the slate. But I personally like this movie quite a bit. I was hyped up for this film for like 2 years, and I saw it with a bunch of friends, including David, and it was an experience. And I saw it like twice in theaters, once on an airplane and once at home.
Yeah.
What's better in your opinion, the extended edition or the theatrical cut?
I mean, they were kind of both similar because it's the same movie, but I would
Yeah.
say if you had to choose, watch the extended cut. But at the same time, I didn't really like this movie, which is why it's not on my list, because it just tries to do too much in a 3-hour movie.
I can agree, but at the same time, whenever it wasn't trying to set up the Justice League and everything, I did manage to have fun with it. And I'm not, when it comes to Batman and everything, I know some of the lore, not, as much as a comic enthusiast, but I mean, I do tend to know more than the average Joe, so I mean, probably why it helped out, but I just had a lot of fun with this film.
Alright, so my number 4 is actually Captain America Civil War. Now, when I first saw the movie, it was kind of forgettable because I came in very hyped to see Iron Man fight Captain America. So, when I rewatched it just a couple days ago, it was actually a lot better because I came in with an open mind and like I just watched it for what it was, and it was really good. So, it's number 4.
My number 4 is 10 Cloverfield Lane. We already talked about this one, and I saw it in theaters. He didn't, but he did watch it later on with me. But 10 Cloverfield Lane, when I first saw it, it was amazing, and it still is amazing. But it isn't as unwatchable a second time around as Don't Breathe and like Hardcore Henry and Nerve and everything. But the second time you see it, or after the second, third time, it does kind of get, it isn't as much of an experience because you know the mystery and everything, and that's the problem with some mystery movies. Once you know the mystery, you know the whole movie beat by beat. But it is still a great movie. No matter how many times you see it, it will still be a great movie. And acting was great, the vibe was great, but one problem I think we both agree on is the ending. The ending was.
They tried to mix it in with the Cloverfield series.
And they should have really
So, like,
disconnected it.
The aliens kind of threw me off because I'm not familiar with that series. So.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't seen Cloverfield before I saw this film. I didn't even know they were connected. So I mean, I was kind of confused as to why they actually included like the whole film was just a mystery and like kind of reality until the end, and it just at the end just
Kind of
that all
threw a
reality, and it just went for the sci-fi aliens. So wasn't a fan of that. But moving on to number 3.
All right, so my number 3 and his number 3 are identical. Actually, we both have Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh yeah, we do.
And I really liked Hacksaw Ridge because it was just so. Not only was it like violent, but it was really showed the other side. You know, his inner struggle or not inner struggle, but like his struggle
with his faith and
like
his beliefs.
with his faith. Well, yeah, with his beliefs. That's what it was. And it just really impressed me. I just liked the movie.
The action was great. Mel Gibson did a good job in the action, and the acting was great. My only flaw with this film was the ending. They kind of chose to just abruptly end this, and it came to a halt after the second time he went into war, which I thought was kind of unnecessary. Just extend the first time out. But I wish I would have seen him go back to his family and his wife, and instead of just, like what happened to his brother too. His brother was never mentioned after like the first couple of scenes, but when they were younger. But you know, it just kind of ended with a tribute. I did have a problem with the tribute, but the ending was kind of let down. So that's our number 3.
Yeah. So now my number 2 is War Dogs. Now I really like this movie because I came in with like 0 expectations. You know, all I saw was that one trailer where they make that joke.
Is this safe, driving to Baghdad?
Very safe. 50-50.
What, like 50% we live, 50% we die?
Yes, this is why we drive through the night. It is much safer.
How much safer?
50-50.
Bro, what the?
Yeah, we saw it in Batman vs Superman. I'm pretty sure. We were just like, we have no plans for watching this ever. It looks like a subpar comedy that isn't very funny.
I didn't think it was gonna be that good, but it blew me away. You know, Jonah Hill's a really hateable character.
Actually, I think that since our number 2s and number 1s are the same, just flip flops, we should both talk about the number 2 and number 1 films together. So,
yeah.
War Dogs is actually my number 1, and I think this film was one of the better ones I've seen over the years in general. I'd say it's my top maybe 20 of all time. It was kind of like a Grand Theft Auto vibe for a film. It had the comedy was there, the suspense, the drama, the action, the mystery, the thriller. It was all just there, and
it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Like the characters I cared for him. Not really the main. Like he used to be a kind of a bad guy. Whatever his name, Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. Yeah.
His character ended up being the hateable kind of guy, but the other character, I forgot the actor who played him, he was in Whiplash, but his character was super relatable. I liked him a lot, and the story was great. Lots of turns and curveballs, but that's my number 1. And then my number 2 and his number 1.
So my number 1 is Deadpool.
Yeah.
Now I chose Deadpool because it was just such an awesome superhero movie. You know, he's slicing up people. He breaks the fourth wall.
It was the hardcore
It's everything,
Henry.
you know?
It was like the hardcore Henry of superhero films.
It really opened my mind up to what superhero movies can be.
Yeah.
So it's just I left the theater wanting more. And it just caused.
Yeah, that's my number 2. I mean, I like this film. Not much to say. It's just Deadpool. Yeah. Super fun time.
Just Deadpool. Yeah.
Action was great. Comedy was definitely there. It was one of the funnier. Like I think it's actually funnier than most of the comedies we saw this year.
Yeah.
Made me laugh.
It was pretty fun.
The replayability value in this film was actually a lot higher than most of them that we saw on this list. I watched this film like 3 times, once on the plane again, and twice in theaters, like just like Batman vs Superman. But yeah, that's our top 10 list 2016.
Yeah.
We highly recommend you watch these on our lists for top 10. These that we talked about that were on our list are still usually like most of them are pretty good.
Pretty good. They're just not good enough.
Yeah,
they made it on our list.
We still recommend you watch our top 10 films, or at least like the top 3. Like War Dogs, Hacksaw Ridge, and Deadpool are both in our top 3s. Yeah. So we definitely
our top 3 are the same. They're just in different orders.
Yeah. But Hacksaw Ridge, Deadpool, and War Dogs, and also in my opinion, like Ted Cloverfield Lane and Don't Breathe. Basically, just our entire top 10 list. Definitely go out and watch those if you get the chance.
You can figure out which movies to watch.
Yeah, just watch the trailers, whatever floats your boat. Just watch those and. Thank you for tuning in to Silver Lake Productions' first kind of top 10 films list.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it. So,
See you
sure
next
subscribe and stay tuned to our channel for more content.